Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Wall Street Hackers, one of the top-rated shows on the Pod TV network, broadcasting in the United States and over 120 countries, including on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Today, we're going to bring in the hacker himself, who's a graduate of the UCLA, where he received his degree in economics, the University of Miami School of Law, and also NYU, spending 17 years working on Wall Street. He's going to bring us up to date with the stories of the week, quotes of the weeks, and Peter's pick. So with that, let's bring in the hacker himself, Peter Bennett. Welcome to your show.
Hey, Nick. Thanks for welcoming me to my show. Hi, everybody. So you can catch Wall Street Hackers almost every week on whatever distribution channel you're watching on Thursdays or Saturdays, depending on which one you're watching. But we come out with a new one most weeks. We're going to take a summer break in August at some point. So let's bring up our first slide, which is our favorite slide, one of the several themes of our show, which is so clear to me, 50 years of stocks. So we have an equal weighted S&P 500 versus dividend payers and dividend growers. Well, if you look at the 50-year history, if you took $100 in 1973, it turned into an impressive $4,000 in an equal weighted S&P 500 index, but you received $8,000 plus in dividend payers, $13,000 in dividend growers. So whatever stock allocation you have, and that's all depends on your situation, your age, your financial taste for risk, but whatever it is, I'm going to put most or all of my stock allocation into dividend payers and dividend growers. This is evident, and yet a lot of people don't seem to realize this. Okay, so if we can bring that down for a second, and then we're going to actually might as well just bring up an interesting chart that I found this week about shares of distressed firms. If we can bring that up, Kim. Perfect. So, not that one. Okay. That is an impressive chart from UBS. That is something I have no idea what it is. We're having a little glitch here. So if I have to, I'll hold it up. Okay. I'm going to hold it. Oh, no, we do have it. Thanks. So it's amazing because every week on and on, I look at history and every piece of evidence shows that the market is ignoring the risks here. Or also I find non-historical current evidence of the problems that the market is facing. That said, maybe it'll be wrong. Maybe it'll be different than 7 years of history. Maybe all the indicators that are current will be wrong, but I don't think so. But you can never tell in the market, but I don't think so. The evidence is so clear. So here's another piece of strong evidence, and I think it's very strong. Share of distressed firms. So this study shows that in every recession since 1977, in the 92 recession, in the 2001 dot-com bust, in the 2008 mortgage crisis problem where the market goes down considerably, every time the share of distressed firms as a percentage goes up considerably. Well, that makes sense. Companies come under financial pressure for various reasons. Right now, it's interest rates. And that is a very strong reason why firms and earnings may be coming down and why more and more firms will be distressed, not to mention the office crisis. So this chart, the main point that I see is, number one, it only goes through 2022, so it doesn't include the first 6 months of 2023. But if you look at 22, it already rose from 10% up to almost 40%, let's say, in that year, somewhere around there. And then, but if you continue that chart out to include the 6 months, if it continued at the pace that it was going, you'd already be at around the all-time high in 2008 when there was quite a crash in the market because of the stock market. So again, the fundamentals, the charts, the history, everything tells me we're probably in a dangerous zone. If we could take the chart down. So the other thing is, I read this week. I wasn't even, so it's a great point. The market pretty much always hits a bottom and after a recession has already begun. In other words, the market tends to probably be very optimistic, as it is now, until a recession begins. Then the market realizes, hey, we're in a recession. How long is it going to go? So history, another piece of history, it shows that the market doesn't usually, is over optimistic, one, but two, if we go into a recession, we might hit new lows. And everybody's optimistic, the market's back up, but it isn't even to its high a year and a half ago, not to mention inflation eating away at it. The other thing that makes me very cautious right now is September and October are historically extremely volatile months. And it's August and almost, and people realize that September and October are volatile months. So we rode the tech craze up, but now where's the impetus? Earnings are going to be coming in probably down. And the worst thing to me is this has always been about the fight against inflation. Unemployment is still at 3.6%, which is a 50-year low. Oil prices are no longer going down. So a lot of these numbers the market looks at and says, oh, look, inflation's finally under control. That's because oil and energy prices went down 16%. So that's helped in the last year-over-year comparison. But what if they flatten, which they're going to do almost certainly, but also they could easily increase. Now those inputs are starting to drive inflation higher, or certainly not reducing the numbers. So if you combine that, plus government stimulus is out of control again, year after year, more and more projects. You can argue the political ends of it. Maybe we should be investing in something. Maybe people think the market should handle it. But whatever it is, there's tons of stimulus coming. So the Fed has a long way to go, and it's nowhere near where it needs to be. If the core PCE is around 4.8, somewhere in there, its target is 2. How do we get there? Well, there has to be some pain. So no pain, no gain is true in finance too, I believe. So 3 quotes of the week. McKinsey, I think probably the top consulting firm in the world. I've known about them since I worked on Wall Street, when actually they came in and replaced 17 of our department of 14 people. They came in and brought in 14 or equivalent Goldman people and just fired everybody. And luckily I survived that uproar. But my boss got fired. My boss's boss got fired. So anyway, but McKinsey was pretty sharp, and that's when I first learned about them. So here's what their quote is. As much as 40% of the core of retail and office quarters in the nation's cities could be rendered obsolete. An estimated $800 billion worth of real estate could be wiped out. That's kind of a problem. And here's what an analyst said about this. He said, the debacle in commercial real estate, if it plays out in coming quarters, the delinquency rate on mortgage-backed securities is likely to rise quickly. That corresponding spike, I'm paraphrasing, the corresponding spike in write-offs across the regional banking sector will set off a credit crunch that will tip the economy into recession within 12 months. This likely scenario is simply not priced into the markets. So, yeah, that's just another problem, the office crisis, which is coming down the pike. But again, inflation keeps rising, unemployment is low, and we have problems, and earnings probably coming down a lot because of high rates. So Barron's Sunday, I always try to read Barron's. They had their panel weigh in, and the panel was all over the place on the markets. So I have to give this disclaimer. So there are optimists, there are people who think the market's going higher, and I, of course, agreed with 2 of the people who were bearish. But I'm going to read what their quote said, because to me it makes perfect sense. And I think at best the market will stay flat for year after year now. if the people just won't accept the realities. So, but I think there's a decent chance of a decline. So Sonal Desai, core inflation is still running around 4.6%. I'll paraphrase here too. That's well above the Fed's 2% annual target. Bringing inflation down will take longer than the markets think. There are even a few rate hikes ahead of us, potentially. And by the way, the market is already saying at least another quarter in July. In short, I remain out of sync with the bullish on the roundtable. And then Rupal Bansali said, I expect to see a recession in 2024, but can't rule out its arrival towards the end of 23. The stock market has held up because there was no sign of a recession yet. This happens to exactly correlate, by the way, I didn't plan it, with that chart. It's like, yeah, there's no sign of recession, but historically, that's when the market realizes, hey, there is a recession. So a recession typically causes corporate earnings to decline by double digits. S&P 500 earnings were to fall. If it happens, the S&P 500 earnings were to fall from expectations of, say, 220, and then applying a PE of 1428, it gets us to an index level of 2856. It's a heck of a lot lower than the market. Will it happen? Exactly. Who knows? But as he says, investors can't receive of such low multiples and index levels because we haven't seen such high interest rates in more than a decade. I'd say more than a decade, more like 40 years. But the math is straightforward. I remain bearish in the U.S. markets. So those are, again, there's some people in that panel who think things are going to be perfect or, will no impact. But I think it's more the fact that for decade after decade, the Fed lowered rates. People are not used to this rates environment of increasing rates or even high rates. So I think we're going to see when earnings come in, maybe August and September, a bit of a tanking, or next year. But I think it's almost inevitable we're going to go into a recession. 5 most interesting stories of the week segment. Number 1, Hollywood is coming out with Barbie after a year almost of Mattel propaganda. It was supposed to be the biggest thing. It got a terrible review in the New York Post. I mean, awful. 1 star. Here's what they said. Barbie is an exhausting, spastic, self-absorbed, and overwrought disappointment. The co-writers have churned out a smug tale that doesn't boast a single sympathetic character. Oops, you spend that much money. So it probably won't make the money Hollywood thinks. Last week I talked about the problems with Hollywood. Indiana Jones is probably going to lose a ton of money. Very bad box office, huge amount of money spending. 2 Disney films, woke and bombs. So Hollywood is under pressure. And interestingly, on the other side, the actors and writers are striking. And this brings back something I've been talking about for a long time on Wall Street Hackers, the coming of AI and replacement of jobs. So here's what James Van Der Beek just said. And I'm paraphrasing him, but he said, if the strike does not work, writers and actors are going to find that their jobs are no longer viable. What he's saying is AI is going to be replacing actors and screenwriters. And if that's the case, I don't think they're going to negotiate a long-term contract. If anything, maybe Hollywood will settle and say, okay, we'll limit our AI to 20% or something like that. And that'll be 1 contract. But then when the next one comes due, AI will have advanced further. So I don't think actors and screenwriters necessarily have a good career path ahead of themselves. But it's a problem because so many jobs are going to be replaced by AI. I have another story in there today about that, about bots replacing jobs. But number 2, interesting story, City of Frandemonium. So in San Francisco, CVS and Walgreens are now locking up their frozen foods. A worker said normally shoplifters clean out all the pizza and ice cream every night. They're usually hit 20 times a day. The whole store is virtually locked up. A local Rite Aid has been closed due to excessive losses from theft. Businesses all over the place, and 2 major hotels are pulling out of San Francisco. Real estate properties are down 14%, the most in the country for private real estate. That city could be on the verge of total collapse. I could see it going downhill to the point where it's almost unlivable if it isn't already. It's terrible mismanagement. And as a footnote, although I try to stay away from politics a lot, if Gavin Newsom runs, he's going to have a lot to defend. I don't think he's a great candidate, and I don't know who the Democrats have if Joe Biden isn't the candidate. And but that's at least a discussion for another week. Number 3 most interesting story. The world's biggest cruise ship is now being launched by Royal Caribbean. It's called the International Icon of the Seas. It's 1,200 feet long and weighs 553 million pounds. It will hold 5,600 passengers and 2,300 crew. This is a city on wheels. We're talking about on the seas. We're talking about like 8,000 people just about on a ship. And it will have 7 pools and 9 whirlpools. So ships just keep getting bigger and bigger. Back to AI. And another interesting story about AI. It's just amazing how fast this is coming. So the CEO of an Indian-based e-commerce company said that it was absolutely necessary to fire 90% of his customer support team because AI chatbots outperform them. The chatbots slashed responses time to minutes when they had previously been to 2 hours. They reduced the company's customer support costs by 85%. This, by the way, is why I'm a little reluctant, even though India is a booming economy, to invest in India and I've looked at that, because that country gets a lot of revenue from this kind of thing. So I don't know with AI, there's so many issues. Meanwhile, Chipotle has now got an avocado making machine that outperforms humans by more than half. White Castle is testing a robot that operates a frying station. We've seen those before. And in McDonald's in Texas, they now have a robot which is handing the customers the drive-through orders. So we already know that bots can take the drive-through orders. We know bots can cook the food. And now we can have a bot that's going to hand the food to the people. Again, AI is going to be a shock to the system. And, hopefully the economic environment will adapt to that. Finally, interesting story number 5. It's not exactly politics, but it's related. It's clearly. So Democrat presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy has been dishing out, this article said, wild COVID-19 conspiracy theories. Here's what he said. He said, COVID-19, this is a quote, COVID-19, there is an argument that it is ethnically targeted. COVID-19 attacks certain races disproportionately. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and Black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. We do know that the Chinese are spending hundreds of millions of dollars developing ethnic bioweapons, and we are developing ethnic bioweapons. They're collecting Russian DNA, they're collecting Chinese DNA, so we can target people by race. The US and other governments are developing ethnically targeted bioweapons. Wow. So I did not know that, and it sounds like he probably knows something about it, but whether or not it's true, my point is, I'm not sure this will sell politically. As a matter of fact, just today, he's talking to Congress and being attacked by a lot of Democrats because he's talking about conspiracy theories of quieting information during COVID. So I don't think this is going to make him a good candidate. So I do wonder what would happen if President Biden isn't the candidate, although it seems like he's favored. So that's it for now. We'll take a very short break, advertisement, and then we'll be back with the dividend stock of the week, or the pick of the week in this case, and also our panel discussion. See you soon.
One of the things that business owners forget a lot is to prepare for their own retirement.
Hi, my name's Nick Palavita, and today I'm with a very special guest, a certified financial planner, a chartered retirement plan specialist, and president of National Pension Partners, Max Culiet. Max, tell me what you do at National Pension Partners.
Well, Nick, we help successful small businesses and professionals put together retirement plans that provide them the maximum retirement benefits and big tax deductions at the same time.
Well, how do you do this?
Well, we get on an internet conferencing system with the client. We review their goals, what they want to accomplish, and then put together strategies to help them in implementing a retirement plan that benefits them, not everybody else.
Well, that sounds really good, but how much does this cost?
Well, it's really not bad because the first consultation is free. That allows us to go through and discover whether this strategy works for that business and for you as the business owner and helping you maximize your retirement.
Well, Max, how do we get this free appointment?
It's really pretty simple, Nick. You can either go to our website below or call us at 877-252-1692, and then we can set up a time with either myself, Nick, or one of our other retirement plan specialists, another CPA or advisor in the office to go over this with you and make sure it fits for you.
Hi, my name is Lewis Haupt. I work with National Pension Partners, and I work with businesses to allow them to put the maximum away that they can for themselves and to save taxes.
Hi, I'm Brad Coyle, and I'm the brokerage manager at National Pension Partners. We're always analyzing plan fund choices in order to ensure the participant's success.
If you want more information on how we can help you and your business put more money away in a retirement plan than you ever thought possible, contact us at the website below or call us at 877-252.
And we're back. So what to do, same as always for a year and a half. Number one, as the chart shows, whatever stock allocation you have should be in dividend growers and dividend payers. Number two, energy, another key theme of the show. I keep saying it, it's going to probably have a huge impact. Oil and gas companies are putting in less than half of the capital they used to put in before 2015 into oil and gas projects. Since they're 5 to 7 year projects, it hasn't hit yet. But there's probably going to be a huge shortage of oil and gas in the future and undersupplies. USAC, a prior investor of ours, said that they think that the oil and gas industry is putting in 40% too less to maintain oil and gas where it is. So I don't see oil and gas use worldwide, especially going down, with developed countries using more. Solar and wind will not replace oil and gas, at least according to every forecast I'm seeing for a long, long time. And we may have huge shortages, and I don't see the prices going much lower, although, it is volatile. So investment of the week, it does relate to oil and gas. As always, our disclaimers, there's no guarantees. It's only our opinions, my opinion. It's for entertainment only, and you should consult your financial advisor. This is all true, and it's a disclaimer. I mean, nobody knows for sure, and anybody who says that they're positive of an investment, if it's not a CD or a treasury, and even those are subject to some market risk or whatever, they're not telling the truth. So you can't be sure of anything, but I'd say our record is pretty good if you look at our investments over the last year and a half, especially the energy pipelines, the energy. We've done very well with that, and we've recommended and continue to recommend very high allocation. So this week is different because for a year and a half, I've been giving a dividend stock or an investment of the week, but this week I'm proposing a potential trade, and I'm waiting and seeing to what will happen before I make this trade. BSM, Blackstone Minerals, and KRP, Kimball Royalty Trust, are two royalty trusts. I've talked about them in the last few weeks again, and now I'm 2% BSM and 1% Kimball. I'd be more, but I'm about 28% in energy, mostly pipelines, because I feel they're not subject to oil and gas prices as much as these two. But both of them own huge tract of lands, and I'm very bullish in the long run on energy. But what I'm waiting for is the August reports, because CAFRA, one of the research firms that I follow, and they seem to do well in their predictions, predicts pretty big declines for the second quarter when these two companies report. I don't know why. Maybe an industry thing, but whatever it is, they're predicting decreases. So what I'm going to do, and plus I think the market may or may not tank in August, September, October. So I'm kind of waiting on these two, and then I'll possibly add to the 3% I'm in those two companies. I love the companies. As I said, if I wasn't in NPLX and as my biggest investment and some of the other pipelines, I'd be saying, okay, I'll really go for this. You know what? If 11 or 13% dividend covered with cash flow goes down, maybe it goes to 7, but sooner or later you'll probably get your money back. So I like these two, but I'm waiting a little bit longer at least, and then I'll make my decisions based on the reports in August and also the market in August, September, October. We'll see what happens. If not, maybe I'll jump in anyway, but we'll see. So now we get to the panel discussion of the week. Very interesting topic. Kim, hi, how are you? So last week I mentioned this, and the question, first of all, is how likely will it be that people will live to 150 or 180 years old, or even 120, I'll add? When could this happen, and what are the implications? Quick background, very quick background in this case. Last week, I quoted a fellow, I guess we'd say, Aidan Miller, and he created a robot artist and synthetic panelist called AI, so he's in the business. He said the following. He said, first of all, tech's rate of advancement is, quote, astonishing. He said, where any skill is involved, computers will be able to do it better. That gets to the job loss we're talking about. But here's the part we're going to be discussing. AI and biotechnologies are working together, and we are on the brink of being able to extend life to 150, 180 years old. And people are not even aware of that. So, question, how likely, for the panel, how likely is it 150, 180, or even 120? When could this happen, and what are the implications? Tim and Nick?
You want me to answer that question?
Sure. You're
highly likely, Peter. Highly likely. In other words,
right.
If you were born today, there's a good chance your life expectancy will be 120, 150. Now, why am I saying that? It deals with stem cell research, okay, more than anything else. And there's already developments in stem cell research that allows organ replacements to take place. There's a great book written by Tony Robbins. You may not like Tony Robbins.
Oh, yeah, I love Tony Robbins. Yeah.
The people in his book, Life Force, who are mainly, because he's not the expert. He brings in experts. His experts are really strong, like Craig Venture, who's the guy who actually deciphered the genome faster in the U.S. government. I'm very impressed with Dr. Craig Venture. And he brought some other of these people in, and they're doing unbelievable research and getting results using stem cell replacement. Now, it's not going to benefit probably us on the panel, but if you're born today, in other words, somebody just born today, a good chance for them living to 120, 150 is probably more likely than not.
Wait, let's dig deeper. And by the way, I'll add something then. Let's dig deeper, Nick, because I have more questions. But one, also, they're unlocking the human genome. I mean, it's happening today with AI and computers, and that is the key to basically how we're put together.
It will not.
But what about? Wait.
Can I add something? What about,
go ahead, Kim. Go ahead.
What about the race-generated chemical bio warfare? I mean, are we going to kill ourselves before we can live that long? I mean,
well, that's another discussion.
I know, but I'm just saying. I agree with.
Let's get back to the main topic. And Kim,
right, but I think that our healthcare has improved enough, and our means of understanding our human mechanisms have grown enough that we can live longer. The key is can you afford it? And what are, like you had asked earlier,
what
are
all the problems? So right. wait, but we have to dig deeper here. So Nick, what about you're saying somebody born today? So
yes.
that could, extend their life in 30, 40 years. What about people who are 50, 60, 70, 80? When is this going to happen? Potentially, nobody knows. But
their life expectancy may be higher also. But realize in the United States of America, we actually had a decline in the mortality. It used to be like age 79 was treated. but a lot of it deals with the obesity epidemic.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
United States.
A huge
Where
amount of
40% of our society is obese. It deals with the opioid abuse that takes place.
Absolutely. It's been going down, but again, it's obesity that's.
Yeah, I think things have gone the other way.
So,
however, if you look at the technology and the technological advances through what you're using, AI is actually works with the stem cell replacement. In other words, it guides the PhD MDs who do all the work really.
So you need to think, wait, I have to interrupt because we have always on a limited amount of time. We have 5 minutes left. So first of all, when you think it's realistic in 10 or 20 years that they maybe will extend it, or you think it's going to take a long? Wow.
It won't take that long. It'll be definitely.
What's your opinion? And then we have to go into the implications, or we'll have to continue it next week. Kim?
Well, I believe that the technology currently exists to extend our life to that age group. I just think we're not ready to handle it yet, because I just don't think that people can live that long financially unless you're extremely wealthy.
Right. The implications, you know what? Wait, hold on, Kim. We'll go into the implications and you can bridge into that, because that's the next question. But let's dig. So do you think it could really happen in 10 or 20 years, Kim? That
yes,
that I or you could live
absolutely.
to 120 or 150?
Absolutely.
Wow, it's an amazing thing.
I think the ingenuity exists today to do it.
Wow, that would be amazing. You know, by the way, I just have to throw out in a poll, only half of people said they want to live forever. But I'm guessing that in several polls, but I'm guessing if you just said you want to live another 20 or 50 years, you'd get a higher percentage. So let's get back to Kim. Kim, what implications are there? And you're right, financial is one of them. I'm thinking, how many people are prepared for their retirement to be more than 20 or 30 years? What about 50 years, 70 years, 100 years, whatever?
Right. I mean, and that is going to be a problem. Where are we going to live? Is there enough space on Earth to manage all of that growth?
You're getting all the points I had. Exactly. What about climate change? What about the environment? I mean, these huge implications. But you know what? On the other side, you can't stop technology. You know what? You could say, okay, we're going to stay with gas lights and horses, but you know what? It comes and you can't stop it because there's money to be made and also people want it. So, but you're right. Climate change, the environment, physical space, and financial planning. I mean, there's huge implications if this happens. Nick, I'll switch back to you because we're on a short run again. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big stressor on our Medicare system, our Social Security system, which is completely bankrupt.
Who wasn't even thinking of that?
The United States of America is ill prepared, nor do we have any leaders to guide us into what's going to happen with the older population. Now, in my particular case, one grandma that I had lived to 99. She was born in 1890. She lived into the 1990s. The other lived 101, and the other one lived to 99.
Oh, good genetics.
And that's without medical technological improvements. Now, when you factor that in, it's highly likely that, yes, people will live to 120 to 150, yet we do not have the systems designed to actually support a great, growing, graying, aging population.
Exactly. And you know what? You raised an interesting point. Great points from both of you. Nick, if these two people could be born in the 1800s and live to around 100, yes, it just shows you the right genes can get the job done, right? Yeah. So, but they're playing with the genome. So all of a sudden, maybe it's just a tweak to the genome. And Kim raised the issue of who can afford this. Well, who knows? If it might be just one pill. It's like, okay, your genes change, or maybe it'll cost $1 million to do it. So who knows? But there's so many issues and so much change. And I'll end on this note. Bill Gates says, and one of my favorite quotes of all time, he says, people overestimate the change that's going to happen in 1 year, but they underestimate the change that's going to happen in 10 years. And this is really true. Whether it's 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, AI, technology, aging, medical breakthroughs, and change in finance, it's an amazing world. I personally hope I'll be able to make it to 120, 150 and see what happens. But I'm an optimist too overall. So as I mentioned, by the way, in August, we'll be taking a break, but we still have a number of shows before we're going to take that break. But if you're watching this and you don't see us in late August or mid-August, that's because we're taking a little summer hiatus. In conclusion, thanks for watching. As always, as Kim always says, get healthy, get wealthy. Another of my favorite quotes. And we'll see you next week. See you soon.
Bye-bye.